You recently introduced House Bill 2108 to eliminate the state's flu shot mandate for foster families. How did this bill come about, and what is its status?
Well, I've been working on this for several weeks, and I hope that it continues to keep some visibility. I got approached by some foster parents that I know and others that contacted me with this concern about a requirement that foster parents get the flu shot or they would no longer be able to care for kids under 2 years of age. It really blindsided them. It was just out of the blue. And so I called in someone from DSHS, the Attorney General's office, a couple of foster parents and organizations to have a discussion to see if we can at least postpone this requirement. Had a good discussion. The folks went back to DSHS. Unfortunately, they said, nope, we're going to stick to our guns. So I got the chair of the appropriate committee to go talk to the secretary of DSHS to, again, try to work on this. After a couple of days of talking, again, no motion on that. So I decided that this was important enough that I needed to draft a bill. Got, I think, a dozen co-sponsors to draft the bill, and it got into the system. Unfortunately, the chair of that committee will not allow a hearing on it, and so it won't have a vote and it won't be able to pass. So I wasn't ready to give up. So I went to the Senate and got Senator Becker to draft a companion bill. It also won't get a hearing just because now we're up against a timeline. And unfortunately, this is an indicator of the way things happen too often in our state in a lot of different ways. I'll give you an example, and it's on transportation, but this will give you an idea of how I think we're doing this in different agencies all across the state. When we build our transportation projects, we can make a road that is perfectly safe. It's got beautiful sound walls, we preserve every blade of grass, we have bike paths and pedestrian trails and just all of these wonderful things. Every drop of rainwater that falls off of the road is perfectly purified and so on. But you know that's not practical. We can't do everything perfectly, and so at some point we say, okay, what is practical? What is the main purpose of this road, and how can we get this done so we get our objectives accomplished, but we don't go overboard? And too often, we've gone too far. And so there is legislation in the works now to try to get us back to this practical design. See, that's kind of what happened in this flu shot thing, where it's well-meaning people trying to protect the foster children and so on. But again, we've gone so far that we're chasing foster parents out of the system. So we've caused more damage than we have good. I also want to bring up another point. In the case of the flu shot, I'm thinking of Department of Labor and Industries. I see this time and time again where the department creates a rule that probably has good intentions to try to make things better, but what it does is actually kills business. And what you have then is you have someone in that department, an unelected person, creates a rule, affects thousands of Washingtonians, and then, in order to overturn that rule, in order to get us to turn back, it takes 76 elected representatives to overturn a rule created by one unelected representative. And what I'm saying is it takes 50 members of the House of Representatives, 25 senators, and the governor. Things are a little out of whack there. And there is legislation, again, that seeks to correct this, to make it so that this rulemaking is not the problem. And I think that's a large part of why people are frustrated with our government. It's not necessarily what we're doing in the legislature, although we can create our own problems. But in many cases, it's an agency like that that is actually the problem that we need to fix.
House Bill 1556, your bill that changes the state's guaranteed education tuition program to allow parents to buy more flat-rate college tuition credits for their children, was up for a committee vote. What is that bill's status?
Well, it got voted out of committee just a couple of days ago. I'm happy to see its progress. We did amend it at the last second. The chair of the committee was concerned. He just wanted to make sure that this bill was not going to, again, inadvertently make the program insolvent. And so he wanted to initially make it a study so that we check it out for a year. Representative Berquist, who I've been working very closely with this in our neighboring district, in the 11th district, just north of us, had the idea that, how about we do this? Instead, we attached to the bill that they analyze this, make sure it's not going to have any detrimental effects, and as long as it doesn't, then the bill goes into effect. That way we don't have to wait for this study and delay everything a year. So anyway, it passed out of committee with that amendment, or actually it was a substitute bill that was then amended. And so now it will go to the Rules Committee, I'm pretty sure, and I expect it will be brought to the floor for a vote. So the bill is moving, and I'm happy about that.
Last week, Senate leaders released their transportation tax package, which proposes some reforms and calls for an 11.7-cent gas tax increase over the next 3 years to help pay for transportation projects. What do you think of the package?
Well, it's a mixture. One thing that I do like about it is that it's structured that we need to have reforms before we consider revenue to get the projects done. The projects are very important. They're important for our entire state because they include connecting the ports to the warehouses that are right in our backyard, and all of eastern Washington is very, very important. But also, particularly for the 47th District, as I mentioned, those projects are right where we live. So they'll, in addition to improving commerce, will help us get to work more quickly and so on. And the priorities, they said, is reforms before we start thinking about revenue. I need to look at those reforms. I know some of them are similar to a package that we had last year in the House. What I've heard, I'm a little concerned that maybe they don't go far enough, that we're not going to get the true big steps that we need to, but I'm going to take a good look at that, and I think we're making a step in the right direction. I know a lot of folks are all excited about this, but there's a lot of work to be done before we actually get this across the finish line. So I'm optimistic that we've made a good first step and that we don't take too long to get this process going.